Hey, good evening and hello, good morning, everybody. Hello around the world. I'm Karen Taylor from Blue Canoe and the Color Vowel Chart, and I have a special guest teacher speaker here with me today from both Blue Canoe and Color Vowel side. This is Laura Mclndoo, who is the originator and the creator of Color It Out. Tonight's topic is Color It Out, both in the Blue Canoe app that you've found, as well as our actual handheld game, which is a card game. And so Laura's going to join us tonight and do a brief demo of the game, both to sort of show how the handheld game works, but to illuminate a bit of what we have in mind for what happens in Blue Canoe as well. So Laura, I hand it over to you.
Thank you. Well, a lot of you know Color It Out in the app, but it originated with a card game. And I created this for my adult learners, and it was a huge hit. And in long story short, we ended up realizing that it was really great for young learners, for second language, for first language, for students who had reading differences and difficulties. And the game really took off and fit many different scenarios really well. And then Blue Canoe was created and it evolved into what you know on the app. But I wanted to show you quickly how to play the game in case anyone is watching, and then show you how we use the basic principles of the game in the classroom and how you can also extend that main idea and get the same impact in your classroom to review words and things like that. So I'm going to switch over to my camera here. And great. So here's the game. This looks just like your screen, if you can see it. Here's the deck. Here's my opponent's 7 cards. You deal 7 cards. You have a hand of 7 cards, and you play it the same way. So you turn over 1 card.
And Laura, just so you know, we can't see anything except the deck, that the draw pile. So if you, I think you have some cards up above that you might want to get closer in.
Can you see my hand over here?
Yeah, it's all very delayed, so you just kind of want to, yeah, there you go. That's a little better. We can see half of that hand.
Okay, that's fine. I can't actually zoom out anymore, but I will accommodate that, okay?
Great.
So I'll just take a few turns so you know how to play. You turn over a card, you look at the cards in your hand. You have to match one of the colors here, red or black, which actually I don't. So you draw a card, there we go. So I can match this card to this card. So you start with a card on the table and you say, this is an older version, so red dress best, red dress bread. Or in Blue Canoe, you'd say red pepper best, red pepper bread. And you put it down. And then your opponent has to match one of these. So they would look through. I see a gray one right there. And then they say, gray day make, gray day break. Mm-hmm. And you keep playing until you run out of cards, and there's wild cards and things like that. But at the heart of the game and at the heart of the app, of course, is this spoken turn. So gray day make, gray day break. And this is tapping into the brain science that says when you're repeating a sound A, your brain is processing it as sound. And so you're able to bypass the language part of your brain, and your students are able to pronounce this word. Also in this little turn here, they're hearing the A with the underline. When they get to this EA, they're already primed to say and repeat that same A. They're primed to say that vowel sound. So in terms of decoding, if they see a word that they don't know, maybe that's easier than break. They're not going to say gray day, make gray day, briac, because of the break in the pattern. And so this little spoken turn is really powerful. When you play this game in your classes, you don't really need to correct students. They can self-correct. They can not only decode how to say this word, if they do say gray day, make gray day, briac, it sounds different, their jaw position will move, and they'll be able to say, wait, that's not right. They go back to the color and the icon and apply that sound to the underline. So the great thing about when you play is that you just have to walk around your classroom and students will ask you, is this really I climb? It's not clean? And you say, no, it's really white tie climb. And for some reason, when students are playing the game, it's, you know, they're focusing on this turn, so they're focusing on that sixth word. And even if they've said clean, I like to clean trees for a long time, because it's in focus and you're playing a game, it's a little bit more at risk. When they get it right, and if it corrects them, they're just amazed and they actually remember it. So we've noticed that students are able to, you know, say bread, red dress bread, red pepper bread, instead of Brad or whatever they're saying. And it's hard to explain, but when you're playing the game and you have to take a risk and you get it right, sometimes there's been major breakthroughs with our students. So I just want to talk about the spoken turn a little bit more, but this is basically how you play in the game in the class. And I've used this when I have, if I need to meet with students individually, you can put them in a circle with 5 students and they just play. And they play and they play and they have a wonderful time and they laugh and they self-correct. And it's just been a wonderful game to play. But coming back to the spoken turn, where the learning really happens, let's do this one. Oh, actually, I want to tell you about a couple different ways you can play. You can play, so when you take the turn, you put the cards on the deck like this. But right away, some of our students started doing it this way. They would do it like this and show the turn, and then they would show the next turn, they would take it down here. I'm kind of running out of room, but basically they would make a snake. And we have some pictures of classes where, you know, the words are just going like all around this whole circle of the table, and students go back and they go gray day, break, gray day, make, red pepper, red pepper, help. And so they review it towards the end of the game, and it's just wonderful because they really take the learning into their hands.
Yeah, in fact, Laura, I have a beautiful clip of play, remember, that I just recently
Oh,
posted.
yes.
And Matthew is working with young children. So I thought this might just be a way. There are a couple things going on here that will be interesting to roll into, and others who are watching, which is, and I'm just, let's go ahead and share the camera another way here. Continue, there we go. All right, so this is actually in our Facebook community. This is a 7-year-old playing the game, and I'm going to play her turn because you'll see a couple reasons why I want you to hear this. But she played this by herself, by the way. This was a game she played entirely on her own. She had a few, basically none of my kids were home except her, and she's like, what do I do? And she picked up Color It Out. So this is what she did with it. And then she took this turn, which I'll have you listen to first, and then a second version of it. But watch what happens right here in these mustard words. Okay. Oh, I know what's happening. We're on Zoom, and so we can't like play a video within a video maybe. But basically she takes that run and she goes back through these, and she continues the run for about 10 different cards. And so she says, a cup of mustard cousin, a cup of mustard son, a cup of mustard love, a cup of mustard was, a cup of mustard one, and then she continues in this really fast way. And then I had her take her hand out, and so then she says, you know, a cup of mustard cousin, a cup of mustard son, a cup of mustard love, and again, going on for about 10 cards, cascading through. So she's a native speaker playing the game. And what I loved about that is that it was very compelling to her, even though she was a native speaker. And she was still decoding some of these words and figuring out, you know, just that the spellings are there to kind of intrigue her. So when you have those opportunities to, well, to have different age learners, but also native and non-native speakers play, it's a great thing. But I return to Laura here, and she's going to be showing you something.
I was just going to say native speakers and non-native speakers being able to play together, which is pretty great also. All right, so coming back, I was just about to explain this, how you can also play domino style. These cards lend themselves really well, just like you saw with that 7-year-old. And then it's less competitive and they get more practice. And the nice thing about this card game is it's 100% practice. There's no turn-taking language or, you know, a lot of setup. It's just gray day, break, gray day, make, red pepper bread, red pepper help. And so they're just flowing through these repetitions of the spoken turn. Another thing that Karen sort of talked about is the spelling. And This is so amazing to see when students start to do this. We work on spelling usually later in the semester, but a word like this, hear and heard, we start to get into, how do you spell green tea? And they think, huh, I don't know. And so some students just take a deck and they pull out all the green tea words they can find, and then they start to group them. So this one is EA, this one is also EA, and they start to put them in groups like this. This is a different spelling pattern. This is EA. They go this way. And they'll keep going until they basically are making a bar graph. This is a different spelling pattern. EA, EE. And they'll pull out all of the green words or all of the blue words and just study them. And there's something about having these words on these cards. It's so satisfying. You can manipulate them and move them around, and let's see if we get another one. Another EA. Anyway, you keep going. And it's really satisfying for students to see, wow, how do you spell green tea? Well, EA is really, really popular, and so is EE. And if we chose these words to accurately reflect the language, we didn't just say there's going to be 15 words for every color. And so the colors that are more popular, we actually have more cards in. So it's a pretty accurate representation of spelling, because we're very conscious of that when we chose words. And so when they do this with color like green, or especially with mustard or blue, they notice the spelling patterns and they notice the frequency, which is something that I don't think students ever do in a language, in a lesson. That's just not something that they would think about doing. So having these little cards are super handy. We actually had a teacher who bought a whole deck, and she cut them up like this so that she could have, just a green tea word on one card, and then her students do lots of activities with these half cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have them there, Karen?
I have them. I mean, basically we started doing it, it became a thing. So you can cut them up and make little mini cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and we mentioned this just because Color It Out is about to come out as a second print edition in about a month. So you can actually sort these and make that bar graph. And if you're intrigued by this aspect of spelling exploration, we call it, you'll find that in your book, The Color Vowel Approach, which both the folks in the room definitely have available to them, or it's the book that you bought if you bought the Teacher Starter Kit. So that's there to kind of explain that back. It's sort of a reversed approach to teaching spelling. It is a reversed approach, right? No rules, but rather using words as data, creating these bar graphs from the real data that's out there. And they can pick all the words they want to do this spelling exploration. Yeah.
And again, having those little cards they're fun to hold, they're fun to play with, they're easier to see. And one more advanced way that you can extend learning with your cards is...
I'm so sorry, I'm gonna have to bail out because the electrician is here.
There you go. And it is, yeah, thank you. It's 30 minutes after the hour, so that's our 15 minutes, but you're welcome to stay. Thank you.
Right.
Take
Thank
care.
you very much.
Bye-bye.
And I'll be super quick. I just want to show you something that Karen and I paired the words for collocations. And so one thing you can do with advanced learners, if they say, oh, these words are really easy, I can't really learn from this, either during their turn or as a totally separate activity, you can have them take a turn, look at their card, and then they have to make a sentence. My birthday's in April. I like to eat an apple, whatever. So the new edition that's coming out, every single card is a creative collocation like that, or a word like something like this, where the spelling is really intriguing. Is it ho-lo or how-lao, right? So that's something that you can do to use these cards separately and extend an activity as well. And Karen, can I have one more minute to talk about Go Fish?
Sure, we started a couple minutes late, so that makes sense, right? Keep going.
So these cards are based on, the top 200 words, and we mix them up to make them as effective as possible for learning. But you can still apply the same technique of the spoken turn with your classroom words. So after your students have a good section of words in each color, you can do a review and have them just take an index card and make up a half card, essentially. So just something like this, green tea experience. Blue Moon Computer. Have them put one word on each index card with the color vowel. And you can dole it out. You can say, Karen, write 10 cards with green. Penny, write 10 cards with mustard. So the class is involved. It's a great review because they have to write it and they have to underline it. And then you have a bunch of cards that are your classroom words. And then you can play Go Fish. So you can shuffle them and hand out, I think it's 7 cards or something. You can play Go Fish. So I would look at my cards and say, Karen, do you have a green tea word?
I do. Mine is green tea teacher.
You do. Great. So I would take your green tea teacher and say green tea teacher, green tea experience. And I would put it down as my pair and you play just like Go Fish. So you're harnessing the power of that spoken turn, but you're actually using your classroom words, which is a great way to review. And it's much more fun than a worksheet. So
thank you, Laura. Just as a cap on things, taking it back to Blue Canoe, you know, Laura and I have been working together for years and years, and it took a while to realize just how different this game was, because again, you're using your hand when you speak, and you're using this turn that activates the musical brain. And it's so different that we actually have received a patent for that combination of behaviors with language. So that brain-based aspect is something we've really identified and taken all the way to the patent office, and it's right there in Blue Canoe. And you'll find that if you actually play with your hand, or your students do, their scores will be higher. And in Blue Canoe, we don't show scores for every single turn the way you see in the lessons. So it's really something to just let your students know that it does make a difference. And they can go and see that in the lessons. And that's all. I would reiterate to everybody that as you watch your learners play, whether it is the card game itself or Blue Canoe, that you don't let students become complacent with like, well, I now I just do this, or I just play the game now really fast. There's so much to be gained from just keeping that habit in place. So thank you. Any questions? We're closing down our time, but we have time for questions for anybody who wants to stay. And we will be posting this on the Blue Canoe teacher resource page. So any questions anyone has, we're happy to answer.
Oh, I have a question. Actually, not about our content today, but I was just noticing something about the color turquoise. In the Blue Canoe app, it labels turquoise as a purple word, and I was thinking, wait, actually, it kind of is a purple word. So, yeah.
How do you want to end that question?
So is it a turquoise word or is it a turquoise word?
Laura, you want to take that?
Okay. So you are absolutely right. It's purple shirt turquoise, right?
Yeah.
That's what feels natural to you, and that's why you're like, wait. And so Karen and her co-author Shirley chose that word because there isn't another color word that has the oi sound in it. There's like royal blue, but royal by itself isn't really a color word. So turquoise is a pretty obvious color, universal color.
Yeah.
And so it's got that nice sound in it. And so if you look on the chart, it's the only one that has a separate underline under the OI. Like the regular green tea, they don't have underlines, but turquoise does under the OI, but it's a funky underline. It's like a jagged
like a watermark.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's to show that it's not the primary stress, but that's where the oi sound is. So it is turquoise. But I will tell you, when we're using our open hand and everything in class, I just do it naturally. I say turquoise, toy, joy. Turquoise, toy, and joy. You don't want to get into turquoise, toy, because that's just weird.
Yeah.
And if a student notices, you say the same thing. You say, that sound is right there, but it's a secondary stress, and they're fine with it. But
Okay.
What is that?
So we harness it because it contains that sound, but and we leave people to discover the way you did. So that's why I just let you like sit there for a minute with the thought, and I was like, and yeah. So congratulations, you found the Easter egg. Yeah.
Oh, yay. Okay, thank you. I think that's my only question here today.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank Laura for joining us today. In general, whether you're here live or watching recorded, I'm interested in starting to invite teachers who are doing interesting things with Color Val and Blue Canoe in their classrooms. So if you're doing something that you'd like to share, contact me at colorvalchart@gmail.com. You can reach me there or through Blue Canoe at feedback@bluecanoelearning.com. Those are both great ways to let me know what you're doing and that you'd like to share it. And we can, have a little conversation and put you on to share the same way that Laura joined us today. Laura will be a regular because she's one of us, but we're really excited about having other teachers join us as well with their tips, because we're a community and the good ideas come from the pool. Okay. Once again, thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'd look forward to seeing you next week. Penny, is next week a normal week or is it a special week?
It is a special week, a lab session where they get to watch you with Blue Canoe users.
Great. So that's a week when teachers can continue to come, but it's a night for learners and users of Blue Canoe who have come for sort of a little extra session, and we'll be doing a chant. So if you ever want to see how I teach learners, that's what I'll be doing next week. You'll be in the room. You can pitch in and ask questions, or even make a suggestion, and so we'll be a nice mix, and we call that a lab class. Okay. Wonderful. We look forward to seeing you all next week, and have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.